Hi, everybody, and this is Dennis Prager, and I have an echo back home. Now I don't. Hi, everybody. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, where I don't know if the event is sold out or not, so you might want to check the KKNT radio website. Sebastian Gorka will be there, and Hugh Hewitt will be there, Larry Elder will be there, and I don't remember all of the colleagues that will be there. It's quite an event. Last night at a cigar lounge here in Phoenix, it was quite touching, actually, the number of people who came over, who are listeners and viewers, because the viewer part is PragerU, and it was just very touching. People of every background. And I sit here every day and I think, am I touching enough people? And of course the answer is no. So life is a very difficult thing because you never achieve what you really want to achieve. It doesn't happen. It's not. No one gets into the promised land. It's a great happiness hour theme. I've always known that. It's one of the great lessons of the Bible, with the greatest lesson giver of all, the Bible. Moses never gets into the promised land, and it is a lesson to all of us. None of us get into the promised land. But it doesn't mean you don't try to get there. That's very different. And, I look at an article like this, that university hosts separate orientation for black freshmen. And they don't have to attend it if they're black, but there is one for them. And this is at George Mason University, which I believe has tended to skew less left-wing than other universities. And this is the Black Student Union puts it on, and it's just sad. It's just sad. This did not happen until recently. We've gone. This is truly, the left has taken us so far backwards in the realm of race. It's just, you could cry. If you love this country and you love people, you could cry at the damage the left does every day, every hour, every minute. This event is dedicated for the incoming, oh God, he's not said, it's to the incoming. These are college people who put this up. This is a Welcome to Mason website. This event is dedicated for. They don't know that dedicated gets a 2. Now you'll think, what am I making a big deal about? I'll tell you what I'm making a big deal about. These people are in college. What do they learn in high school? Global warming? Condom placement? Founders were slave owners? What do they learn? This event is dedicated for the incoming freshmen. Freshman is spelled M-A-N. I didn't even notice this when I first read it. Not M-E-N. Oh, God, you could cry. It's mind-blowing. This event is dedicated for the incoming freshmen, F-R-E-S-H-M-A-N, who identify as black or are supporters of black people. Wow. Okay. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. There are black dorms now. There weren't black dorms before because liberalism has been shattered by leftism. Liberals are against segregation and leftists are for segregation. It's just one of the many differences. I would ask you to watch again, and then watch again my video at Prager University on the differences between liberal and left. President Obama gave a speech at the University of Illinois, and just a few days ago, I read every word of it. It's a very long speech. It was done as a service to you, my dear listeners. So listen to how he begins. This is near the beginning. I was also intent, he saying I, Barack Obama, was also intent on following a wise American tradition of ex-presidents gracefully exiting the political stage, making room for new voices and new ideas. And we have our first president, George Washington, to thank for setting that example. After 2 terms, he resigned again and rode off into the sunset. This is so classic Barack Obama, where he fools the audience because he is truly a masterful speaker. I'm a good speaker, so I know good speakers. He's really good. He said he is engaged in double talk more eloquently than anyone in my lifetime in public life. This is a perfect example. See? I was intent on following the example of George Washington and implicitly all other presidents and exiting gracefully and quietly off stage. So why is he at the University of Illinois? Because, of course, he's not exiting gracefully. After telling you what a beautiful American tradition is, he wipes out that tradition. I'm here today because this is one of those pivotal moments when every one of us, as citizens of the United States, needs, but it's okay, to determine just who it is that we are, just what it is that we stand for. And as a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president, but as a fellow citizen, I am here to deliver a simple message, and that is you need to vote because our democracy depends on it. See how he gets around it? I'm not here as an ex-president. I'm not violating the tradition of all the 43 or 44 presidents before me. No, I'm here not as an ex-president. I'm here as a simple citizen. I analyzed so many of Barack Obama's speeches while he was president, even before he took the oath of office. And they consist of platitudes, they consist of straw men, and they consist of double talk. That's it. Those are his speeches. If I could clone me, I would put out a book analyzing Barack Obama's speeches. But the left loves him because, A, he's a leftist, and B, because he's so stylish. They love style. And he has Kennedy-esque style. His calm, reasoned sounding delivery. And they hear him speak and they compare him and contrast him to Donald Trump, and they're beside themselves. Look at the class we traded in for the non-class, or the classy for the non-classy. But this is how he begins. I'm not violating the tradition of ex-presidents exiting quietly. I'm not here as an ex-president. I'm here as just a fellow citizen. Is that mind-blowing? If your mind isn't blown, I don't even know why. I don't understand, and it bothers me when I don't understand. How could you not find this to be dishonest? Okay, we continue here. Our democracy depends on your voting. Really? How is that right? This is the left's line. The democracy of the United States of America is being threatened by this president, by President Trump. The very democracy. They never exactly provide an example of how that is. Well, what exactly? Just a glance at headlines should tell you that this moment really is different. The stakes really are higher. But as always, he never tells you why. Why? A glance at recent headlines. Yes, by the press that adores me and loathes Donald Trump. Yes, makes it sound like our democracy is threatened. That's exactly right. The consequences of any of us sitting on the sidelines are more dire. Although discrimination remained a pernicious force in our society and continues to this day, and although there are controversies about how to best ensure genuine equality of opportunity, there's been at least rough agreement among the overwhelming majority of Americans that our country is strongest when everybody's treated fairly. God, yeah, that's an insight. We'll be back. I'm Dennis Prager. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. And Sean, I want to, which did I decide to do here? I'm reading to you from the speech Barack Obama gave. He began by saying that it is the tradition of all American presidents to exit quietly, and then doesn't exit quietly. All right, so now he's telling us here that all the wonderful things that Americans agree on. I'm going to try to. I highlighted a great deal, and I don't have a ton of time, and I want to get to many of the comments that he made. Of course, there's always been another darker aspect to America's story. Progress doesn't just move in a straight line. There's a reason why progress hasn't been easy, and why throughout our history, every 2 steps forward seems to sometimes produce 1 step back. Incidentally, he gives no examples of any of these platitudes. I'm totally pro-generalization. If you read every one of my 1,000 articles, you will see I give a generalization and then I back it up with 1 example or 2 examples or 3 or more. He never gives examples. I want to know an example. Throughout our history, every 2 steps forward seems to sometimes produce 1 step back. Tell me what the 1 step back is with regard to a treatment of minorities in the United States. What is the 1 step back? I am unaware of it. You know, I tell you, my friends, the left that America describes doesn't even exist. I walk around this country, and I mean it. I travel virtually every week. I was in Oklahoma yesterday. I am in Phoenix today. And I'm at airports, obviously, and I'm at restaurants and cigar lounges, and all I see is the calmest, lightest interactions between light by being not heavy. In other words, just fun, like any 2 people might have, between blacks and non-blacks. I keep looking for all of this tension that the Barack Obamas of the country lie about. And yes, he lied. He lied about Ferguson. A black jury found that, in fact, the officer did not act illegally or I infer even unethically. He was attacked. And yet President Obama kept saying Ferguson, and Ferguson is a code word. You talk about dog whistles? That wasn't even a dog whistle. That was just a code word for the police are racist, and they kill blacks because they're black. Does it ever happen? It surely does. There is nothing that doesn't happen. Everything happens. The question is whether or not it is a pattern. Each time we've gotten closer to those ideals, somebody somewhere has pushed back. Who? What is he talking about? I don't know. I never know what Barack Obama's talking about. For 8 years, I didn't know. Who is that somebody somewhere? Who is that? Who's pushing back? Your bigoted uncle? Who is this? The status quo pushes back. Oh, the status quo pushes back. Wow. Sometimes the backlash comes from people who are genuinely, if wrongly, fearful of change. Okay. Who's that? What change? You see, nothing is specified. And people are, these 1,000+ students were sitting there going, oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Somebody somewhere is pushed back. Sometimes the backlash comes from people genuinely, if wrongly, fearful. Tell me who they are. Who is genuinely fearful of change, and what change do you specify? Are there changes that are worthy of being fearful of, Mr. Obama? When more and more teenagers are now being told, listen, you're not really a boy or a girl. You have to, rethink this issue. You're not committed to your gender. You may be both. You may be neither. You may be one this day and then another that day. It's like child abuse out there. Is that a change you welcome, Mr. Obama? That's a big one. Boys and girls can't be called boys and girls. In a lot of elementary schools, the teachers can't call them boys and girls because the teachers are specifying that they're boys and girls. Can't do that. New York subway, you can't say ladies and gentlemen anymore, just riders. Are you afraid of that change, Mr. Obama? Do you welcome that change, that people are no longer divided between men and women? More often it's manufactured, I'm reading, by the powerful and the privileged. Who are they, sir? Who are the powerful and the privileged that you're talking about? Do the powerful and the privileged back you? Bet you more of the powerful and privileged back you than don't back you. So how do you explain that? The richest zip codes tend to be, in fact, blue. How do you explain that, sir? Or is this a fib? More often it's manufactured by the powerful and the privileged who want to keep us divided. Who's that? Who want to keep us divided? You on the left? You who divide between rich and non-rich? You who divided between black and white, between Latino and Anglo? You have the chutzpah to speak about others dividing America? It's one of the most disgusting aspects of the left. They are the most divisive force in American history. They don't believe in e pluribus unum, from many one. And yet, I don't know if there were two students sitting there who picked up on the nonsense, the dishonesty, the disingenuousness, the phoniness, the glib nonsense that Barack Obama spoke. The editors at the New York Times look at this, and they practically cry. This was our man. And they're right. This is their man. I agree with that. It's impossible to overstate the meaninglessness and dishonesty of this speech. Back in a moment. Hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager. The PragerU video out this week is about net neutrality. We put out about 340 videos. I don't think that any single one, necessitated so much careful writing on the part of the deliverer and those of us who work with the deliverer as this one on net neutrality. And I salute Jon Gabriel, editor-in-chief of Ricochet.com, who teaches this video, What is Net Neutrality? It's got 1.5 million views in 2 days, and it almost has 1.5 million comments. It's a lot of people have a lot of thoughts. John, welcome to the show. Let me ask you, have you looked at any of the comments?
Yes, I've looked at a few, and of course, on the internet, sometimes it's just people raging at you. But yeah, I've gone through some. My main concern about net neutrality is just and why I first wrote an article and was so interested in teaching this video is just the hysteria around it, and everybody coming at me saying, oh my gosh, if the government doesn't control the internet, we're going to have authoritarianism. And it was so confusing and bewildering to me that people, especially those on the left, who act like, oh my gosh, fascism is on the rise in America because a Republican was elected, like they say every time a Republican is elected, for them to say, and that's why we need Trump or any other Republican Congress to control the internet. It just seemed bizarre to me that they would want this government they say is so evil and scary to have a camel's nose under the tent for the internet.
What I have gone through, and my wife, who's the expert on this, has gone through more than I, but I haven't seen anybody in the comment section, I'm not saying nobody has, who has said, what are the bad things that have happened since the Trump administration repealed net neutrality? You would expect, right, since the sky will fall, why hasn't it even budged? The sky hasn't budged since repeal of net neutrality under Donald Trump.
Exactly. For some reason, yes, I've been able to check Twitter, and I've been able to watch Netflix, and I've been able to do all the things I was told would just disappear. The rhetoric on it was just downright apocalyptic. As we note on the PragerU video, Mark Ruffalo, there was many celebrities against it because all these huge media companies were for net neutrality, but he said taking away net neutrality is the authoritarian dream, and there was all these dramatic things. It's really bizarre to see just the panic, and we've seen it time and time again. The Kavanaugh is the latest one. Everybody's going to die if he is on the Supreme Court because he'll actually take the Constitution seriously. The tax cut will kill everybody. Net neutrality will kill everybody. I think people are getting burned out, and those on our friends on the left, let's say, are really overplaying their hand with this, just this constant state of fear and panic. And for something like net neutrality, which was these rules were put in place like 3 years ago. They have not been on long. It wasn't this hellish, nightmarish landscape that we were dealing with the Internet before Obama decided to monkey with it. He put all these rules and regulations on the Internet, and now that they're gone, nothing has changed.
I'd like you to tell my listeners, forgive me, I want this to me is the most telling statistic in your video. How many visits Google made to the Obama White House?
Yeah, only 427 meetings. Google made 427 meetings at the Obama White House, and it was further revealed yesterday. There was a video of what happened post-Trump's election, and it became this basically this company-wide group therapy session dealing with how horrible it was that the person they didn't like attained the White House. So, again, a lot of people have complained that, well, net neutrality, it'll keep these ISPs in check and their companies. That makes
Folks, ISPs, let me just explain. ISPs, Internet Service Providers, examples are AT&T and Verizon. And Google and Netflix, they pay them for bandwidth, for usage. So it is Google and presumably Netflix, but we know Google, that made 400 plus visits to the Obama White House, lobbying for so-called net neutrality, which the more I have found out, and I'm no expert at all, the more I have found out, it seems to me to be an Orwellian term, because the government got into it. Hold on a moment there, John. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Speaking of Jon Gabriel, who gives the latest Prager University video, we've taken a very complex, or I don't know, even that isn't even clear to me. I don't even know if it's that complex or it's just been rendered complex. To me, the issue is, should the government get involved in the Internet? So to me, therefore, it's not that complex. But if you look at the comments, people, this is the one Prager University video I don't agree with, and that's fine. That's okay. And I'm totally prepared for that. Our pursuit of truth is so great that even those who don't agree with us have never pointed to a misstatement of fact in a PragerU video. We are that careful. This one is about this net neutrality passed under Barack Obama after 427 visits by Google to the White House. No wonder you should see, folks, watch the video about how angry the Google heads were, and the video has been released about what they said to their own employees about what a dark day it is for America and the incipient authoritarianism, if not fascism, that is going to come in. And this is who controls the Internet. So they pay ISPs like AT&T and Verizon. They pay them for their usage, and So what exactly did Google lobby for? That the government control price of bandwidth? I'm not clear. What is it that Google lobbied for?
Well, what they wanted to do is just have the government regulate the ISPs to ensure that people like Google, which owns YouTube, weren't charged more for using so much more of the bandwidth than pretty much any other site on the internet.
Okay, so the commenters, the most frequent disagreement with the video is bandwidth is not the issue. All right, so I understand it is the issue. What are they talking about when they say many of the commenters say there is no physical limitation to the amount of data the internet can carry. So what is your response to that?
Well, in theory, there isn't, but in reality, of course, there is. Anybody with the home internet is not the best analogy, but a good example. If I'm trying to download videos and my kids are also trying to download videos, all of ours will download a bit slower, and that's, doesn't really show the whole internet. But when you're dealing with ISPs delivering content to your home, there is obviously limits, and that's why people will change companies that they use for their internet service. So what large companies like Apple or Google, YouTube, Netflix, these huge bandwidth users, they were terrified that ISPs would raise the rates and increase their price for doing business. So unfortunately, in our modern era, what do companies do? Instead of competing in the free market, they run to the government and say, hey, stop those mean people from charging us more for using so much more. So it's once again, my big concern, too, with net neutrality is just the camel's nose under the tent. Once you get an agency in Washington dedicated to having their hands all over the internet, it's going to grow next year, and the year after that, the administration after that, and through Democrat and Republican administrations. What we've seen so many times, look at Social Security or EBT cards that people get. Every couple of years, they grow and grow and grow, and their mandate expands. And that's what's so concerning to people who want limited government is, it could be 3 years down the road, it could be 10, it could be 15, but the government will have a larger and larger footprint, and you get whichever side you're on, the left, the right, somewhere in the center, if you get an administration that you oppose and they would like to, let's say, control what gets released a couple months before an election, they're going to have the ability to do that. I don't think we should give government that power, especially since the internet has been one of the most admirable success stories in free market that we've seen.
So it would seem.
In our lifetime, certainly.
Right. All right. Listen, congratulations on the video. And this is Jon Gabriel. I'm talking to editor-in-chief of Ricochet.com, the latest PragerU video, What is Net Neutrality? I have been reviewing this long speech that the former President Obama gave at the University of Illinois. It is classic Obama, filled with dishonest generalizations. That's what all his speeches are. They're straw men. One of the greatest articles published in the Wall Street Journal, among many great columns, was the one about Mr. Strawman, the straw men that inhabit Barack Obama's universe. But it sounds so compelling, and this is the narrative. And I want to read you more. I just wanted to remind you, if you missed it in the first hour, he began by saying what a beautiful tradition it has been that all presidents exit quietly after they leave office. And then he says, I'm going to speak out. Therefore, I'm speaking not as an ex-president, but as a citizen. Tell me why that's not utterly and totally dishonest. Tell me. What have I missed? I'm not breaking the tradition because I'm not speaking to you as an ex-president. I'm speaking to you as a fellow citizen. People buy that crap because they went to college and they were not taught critical thinking. It's mind-blowing to listen to this. I feel like the musician who can distinguish between an F and an F sharp and keeps hearing an F where there should be an F sharp, and you could go crazy. Why isn't everybody hearing this? This dissonance. God. Each time we've gotten closer to those ideals, whatever ideals he's referring to, somebody somewhere has pushed back. The status quo pushes back. Sometimes the backlash comes from people who are genuinely, if wrongly, fearful of change. This is it. Fearful of change. I discussed this the last hour. Yes, there are a lot of changes I am fearful of. I'm fearful of the change that is being made in a city in Golden, Colorado, to change local voting to the age of 16. I admit that, Mr. Obama. I'm fearful of that change. All right? I am fearful of the change in attitude toward borders. That it's not that a serious percentage of people on the left don't believe in borders. Yes, I'm fearful of the change that boys and girls are not called boys and girls in schools anymore, in elementary school classes. That's correct. I'll give you another change I was fearful of. The dropping of school uniforms. Okay? I was fearful of that change, and I turned out to be right. Every study shows that where there are school uniforms, kids do better. There's less discipline problem, a lesser of a discipline problem, and there are better grades. Some changes are great. Some stink. But you don't want change. You yourself said it. We're 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. By the way, not just transforming, fundamentally transforming. I am afraid of your change, Mr. Obama, of fundamentally transforming the United States of America. That is correct. Because I am a student of history, and I know that when you change things that are essentially good, fundamentally transform things that are good, you get crap. The Weimar Republic, which was hardly even on the par of the United States, not close, but it was damn good compared to what the Germans had before and what they got after. But the left in Germany hated the Weimar Republic, the only democracy between the wars between Nazism and the Kaiser. They hated the Weimar Republic. They called the judges fascists on the left. That's what they did. People don't like to talk about how the left paved the way for Hitler. They're not the only reason Hitler arose, but they certainly helped. So, yes, sir, that's correct. Your type of change, I do fear. I proudly fear it, sir. It's a good country. And tampering with good stuff in where human beings everywhere on Earth are a very, very morally problematic species. Yes, sir, indeed. I don't want to tamper too much because the record of tampering with what is decent, since there's not been that much decent, ain't good, sir. You and your left-wing utopian ideals are going to destroy what is good, as you are right now at the universities and in America generally. So that's my response to your fear of change comment. More often it's manufactured. You see, there's the fears that the left engenders are manufactured. They're not genuine. By the powerful and the privileged. Really? How come the powerful and the privileged vote Democrat? It's so filled with dishonesty, the speech, that I could spend all 3 hours just reading to you the phoniness in this Obama speech. And want to keep us divided. Want to keep us divided? That's the left's calling card. By race, by gender, by class. That's been since March. Race, gender, class. That's your trinity. Christians have a trinity and the left have a trinity. And America has a trinity. E pluribus unum, in God we trust, and liberty. Their trinity is race, gender, class. And keep us angry. Keep us angry? You on the left are telling us we keep Americans angry? Are you sick? Or are you lying? I don't know what the third choice is. Angry? You got to be kidding. Did we harass your officials when they went to dine at a restaurant? Did we kick them out? Do we go to the homes of political opponents, to their homes, and scare their children like your people do? Do we shoot up congressmen like a left-winger did? And just this past week in San Francisco did? A left-winger went to stab a Republican running for Congress, got no national attention, screaming F Trump. Anger? Anybody yell F you Obama at the Academy Awards like Robert De Niro did? Anybody portray you with a any famous comedian portray you with a severed head? You phony. You phony. But nobody calls Obama phony because he's so stylish. This speech is a fraud. Keep us angry and keep us cynical? Cynical? Your side calls this country fascist, this administration Nazi, and you call us cynical? You fraud! God, is his speech disgusting. Like almost all his speeches, they're disgusting. But nobody called him out on it because he sounds so good. He sounds so calm. It's a fraud. It's an intellectual and moral fraud. That helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power and keep their privilege. But the powerful and the privileged want the Democrats. It's actually more of the middle class and little guys who vote Republican. Power and privilege, Tom Steyer, the billionaire, multi-billionaire, goes around the country moving for the impeachment of the president, and you have the audacity to say the power and the privileged are Republican? Are the power and the privileged in Silicon Valley Republican? The ease with which Barack Obama lies is actually, it is an art form. It is an art form. It should be studied. And you, he tells the students, happen to be coming of age during one of those moments. It did not start with Donald Trump. He is a symptom, not the cause. A symptom of what? Of what? Of the cynicism and anger that you create? He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years. Oh, please. The left is the one who fans resentment. You're a woman? You need to resent sexism. You're a black? You need to resent racism. You're a Hispanic? You need to resent xenophobia. You're poor? You need to resent the rich. You have the audacity to say that we fan resentments? It's breathtaking, the lies that permeate Obama's speech. Breathtaking. I'll be back. All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. I'm going to continue with the former president's speech that he gave to a full house, 1,000+ students at the University of Illinois. I said if I had 3 hours, I could not tell you the amount of demagoguery in it is, which is typical. I reviewed his speeches constantly during his presidency and before his presidency. But the people are seduced by him. I admit it. He's one of the best speakers that I've heard in my life. He's gifted, absolutely gifted in that arena. Could say things that mean nothing or are actually dishonest and sound like he is St. Paul. All right, let's continue here because I can't even get through I won't even be able to get through the speech. There's just so much. Let's see now. Oh yeah, let me see. Here we go. Right. Then he speaks about how all of this that you hear about the economy, it's all his doing. But he's speaking to you as a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president. He doesn't mention that the growth of the economy is 3 to 4% under Donald Trump, and it was 1 to 2%. They called the new normal. Remember that? Doesn't mention black unemployment rates. Then he says the world's still full of threats and disorder. That comes streaming through people's television every single day. And these challenges get people worried. What is he referring to? Why doesn't he say what they are? The world is still full of threats and disorder. When has it not been? Okay, so these challenges get people worried, and it frays our civic trust, and it makes a lot of people feel like the fix is in and the game is rigged. I don't know. I have no idea what he's talking about. There are so many different things here. The game is rigged because there are still threats and disorder in the world? What game is rigged? What does it have to do with world disorder? And it frays our civic trust, makes a lot of people feel like the fix. I read that. And nobody's looking out for them. And even though your generation is the most diverse in history, with a greater acceptance and celebration of our differences than ever before, those are the kinds of conditions that are ripe for exploitation by politicians who have no compunction and no shame about tapping into America's dark history of racial and ethnic and religious division. I see. I don't know why he's never, ever, 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 ever specific. Anyway, I'd like to concentrate on one phrase: celebration of our differences. This is one of those meaningless phrases of the left. I don't celebrate differences. What does that mean? I celebrate differences. What does that mean? It's nothing to celebrate. If your difference is good, I celebrate it. If your difference is neutral, I don't celebrate it. I acknowledge it exists. What does it mean? By the way, one of the most powerful differences is completely non-celebrated by the left. Sex. There's a difference the left denies. It doesn't only not celebrate, it denies it. It's a spectrum. Male-female is a spectrum. There's no male-female difference. It's a spectrum. So what difference do you celebrate? Racial difference? I don't celebrate it. I accept it. It's nothing to celebrate. Why would I celebrate it? I don't celebrate being white. I don't celebrate your being black. It is what it is. It's not who you are. I'm not white. I'm Dennis. I happen to have white skin. I'm not white. And you don't celebrate differences. You crap on whites. That's what I mean. It's so dishonest. It's painfully dishonest. Celebrate our differences. Appealing to tribe, appealing to fear, pitting one group against another, telling people that order and security will be restored if it weren't for those who don't look like us, or don't sound like us, or don't pray like we do. That's an old playbook. Right. So, of course, don't pray like we do. He's referring to Muslims, because there's no threat from illegal immigration from the Muslim world. None. Right? The Europeans are thrilled with Angela Merkel's decision. And it has nothing to do with they don't pray like we do. It has to do with values. And the Islamic world has many wonderful human beings, but does not have the same values as we do. That's just the way it is. The Judeo-Christian world has different values than the Islamic world. That's why there are so few Islamic democracies. That's why there are so few female rights in most Muslim countries. Or is that a bigoted statement? According to the left, it's a bigoted statement, because they never ask, is it true? They ask, does it sound good? A politics of fear and resentment and retrenchment takes hold, and demagogues promise simple fixes to complex problems. Nobody demagogues like the left. Give us more power and we'll fix it. That's all. Just give us more power. White privilege, that's not demagoguery. They promise to fight for the little guy, even cater to the wealthiest and most powerful. Back to that lie again. Why did the wealthiest and most powerful vote Democrat if the Republicans cater to them? They're doing a lousy job catering, I will say. What a lousy bunch of caterers. They promise to clean up corruption and then plunder away. Really? Who is he talking about? Who plundered as much as the Clinton family while she was in office? corruption? You're the guys who want bigger government. There is no exception in the history of Earth that the bigger the government gets, the more corruption there is. When people have the chance to put their money in the till, they do. They start undermining norms that ensure accountability. I don't even know what that means. Try to change the rules to entrench their power further. This is what he's telling college students. I'm sure they gave him a standing ovation. They appeal to racial nationalism that's barely veiled, if veiled at all. Racial nationalism. Wow. Well, that's it. There you go. Republicans are racial nationalists. No wonder they hate black conservatives. They defy this lie. It's like at the University of Wyoming when they objected to those who objected to my coming, called me an anti-Semite. I just happened to be a Jew. Back in a moment. Hi. Hey, everybody. Dennis Prager here, and there we go. I have been going through President Obama's speech to the University of Illinois, or at the University of Illinois last week, and it's so depressing, it's so demagogic that it just reminds me of his speeches for 8 years, and I reviewed them regularly. And it's just the same. I'm going to finish up now. I just want to give you a little more here. All we need, after telling them how the Republicans are ruining things and they should vote Democrat, all we need are decent, honest, hardworking people who are accountable and who have America's best interests at heart. So here's a question. Can you be a conservative, not just a Republican, Mr. Obama, and be hardworking, honest, and decent, and have America's best interests at heart? And of course, this is how I assume the conversation would go. And needless to say, he's invited on my show at any time, but it's irrelevant. He's not going to come on. Does he ever go on those would differ with him? I don't know. It's an open question. I don't know the answer to that. In any event, so he would say, "Oh, of course you could be conservative and decent and honest and hardworking and have America's best interests at heart." So I'd say, "Okay, name me a conservative in power today who does." I want to know. I would like to have an example. So if all you need are decent, honest, hardworking people who have America's best interest at heart, then you can elect a completely conservative Congress. Why vote Democrat? So it's a phony line. He doesn't want decent, honest, hardworking people who have America's best interests at heart. Unless he either has to acknowledge that there are no such conservatives, in which case you can have a completely conservative Congress and meet his criterion, right? It's a phony line. This is the phony line. They're all phony lines. He doesn't want just decent, honest, hardworking people who have America's best interest at heart. He wants Democrats. Then he says, because in the end, the threat to our democracy doesn't just come from Donald Trump. This is such a despicable lie of the left. How does he threaten democracy? You phony. You grenade-throwing, glib speaker. This is a grenade, folks. He throws grenades every bit as much as Donald Trump does, but he does it mellifluously. Really? Donald Trump threatens our democracy? I know this is a left-wing lie. I know every left-winger says it, everyone, including Barack Obama, but it's a lie. It's a grandiose lie. It is a bigger lie than any lie that Donald Trump ever told. Donald Trump never said anything comparable to the lie that he is a threat to our democracy. But they say it so often, they actually believe it. So, the people who believe in their lies, are they liars? Not necessarily. I didn't say he's a liar. I just said he lies. Only God knows if he's a liar. I know he lies. Or the current batch of Republicans in Congress. Really? The current batch of Republicans in Congress is threatening our democracy? Or the Koch brothers? The Koch brothers are threatening our democracy? Or too much compromise from Democrats or Russian hacking? The biggest threat to our democracy is indifference. In other words, if enough of you don't vote Democrat, you are a big threat to our democracy. On this line alone, this man should lose all respect of the decent. Oh, and by the way, they are so angry that President Trump has called the media the enemy of the people. What is the difference between his calling the media enemy of the people and Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, saying he's a threat to our democracy? Can anybody tell me the difference? Call me up. You know I'll treat you only with gentility. 1-8-PRAGER-776. It's evil and threatening to our civilization for Donald Trump to say that the media are the enemy of the people, but to say he's a threat to our democracy, that's fine. That's fine. So, those are just a few. I have so much more on the speech, but I may write it up. But I just wanted you to have an idea. This is the student slapped it up, as you can hear. All right. There's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that I missed when it first came out by Kurt Levy, a lawyer, former computer scientist, president of the Committee for Justice. I'm not familiar with him or his committee, but it was in the Wall Street Journal. If this is accurate, this is one of the most important pieces written in the last year or two in the United States of America. By any measure, the Russian political ads are a drop in the ocean. Listen to this. If this is accurate, it is stupefying. Alarm bells rang in the media and on Capitol Hill when Facebook announced its discovery and removal of a new wave of malicious political ads of probable Russian origin, indicating, quote, determined, well-funded adversaries who will never give up, unquote. Some perspective is in order. Facebook's announcement concerned the deletion of 32 pages and accounts that made, quote, inauthentic attempts to influence political discourse, unquote, by running some 150 ads on Facebook and Instagram between April 2017 and June 2018. The cost of the ads was $11,000, even less than the $46,000 that Russia, through its Internet Research Agency, spent on Facebook ads during the 2016 campaign. Did you know that, folks? Did you know that that is what, if this is accurate, the entire Russian presence that threatened our democracy, threatened our elections, was $46,000 in ads? Whether viewed in monetary terms, the official Clinton and Trump campaigns alone spent $81 million on Facebook ads, or reach, 28 of the 32 removed pages and accounts had fewer than 10 followers. The deleted pages' influence on the American electorate could not have been more than a drop in the ocean. Likewise with the 2016 phase of the attack, for every 25,000 items the typical Facebook user saw in his newsfeed, one came from the Russians. 1 out of 25,000 items. Their content, now to the content, is intentionally indistinguishable from the authentic ads and political expression we hear and see every day in our democracy, making their marginal impact something like adding a marble to a jar of marbles. 1-8-PRAGER-776. If this is true, the hysteria is even worse than I thought it was. We'll be back. So I read to you, and as I said, if this is accurate, it again shows you how we swim in the world of left-wing lies. I have said this for all of my life. This is not a response to the attacks on the president for lying. This whole fraudulent thing about Russian collusion and Russian manipulating of the election and so on. If this is accurate, they spent $46,000 on ads, $81 million on Facebook ads by the Trump and Clinton campaigns. $81 million. They spent $46,000, and they had an effect on the election. By the way, I also wonder. I don't know. It's an interesting question whether or not we should ban a country of free speech. Obviously, it's free speech for our citizens. I acknowledge that. I don't have a position on this, but I would like the question to be discussed. Why is it inherently wrong for other countries to weigh in on our election? We weigh in on other elections. And I don't think it's wrong. I mean, every country has an interest in who other countries have as leaders. Maybe they should be identified as this comes to you from Russia. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't have a position on that yet. But even if you think it's completely wrong, this was what this piece in the Wall Street Journal tells me. $46,000 versus $81 million. Okay. Now, next item, one that I don't know if I'm a lone voice on this. I just don't know. I mean, I know that others have raised this, obviously, but I don't know. I don't even know if you, my listeners, are as disturbed by this as I am. What is being done to young people today with regard to male and female? The latest incredible story comes out of Brown University, where they censored their own study. Now, let me tell you what their study. Here we go. This was the study. It was issued on August 16th. So that's a little less than a month ago. It's a scientific research paper. This is the name of it: Rapid Onset Gender Dysphoria in Adolescents and Young Adults, a study of parental reports. Gender dysphoria means that I do not accept my sex. I am born male, I am born female. There is a biological definition, incidentally, to male and female, but I do not identify with it. Now there is something new in America, thanks to the left, 100% thanks to the left. Rapid onset, I did not know about this. This is the study Brown published. Rapid onset gender dysphoria in adolescents and young adults. So here is from their abstract. In online forums, this is from the PLOS, that's the name of the science organization that put this out, by Brown University. In online forums, parents have been reporting that their children are experiencing what is described here as rapid onset gender dysphoria, appearing for the first time during puberty or even after its completion. The onset of gender dysphoria seemed to occur in the context of belonging to a peer group where one or multiple or even all of the friends have become gender dysphoric and transgender identified during the same time frame. Parents also report that their children exhibited an increase in social media internet use prior to disclosure of a transgender identity. The purpose of this study was to document and explore these observations and describe the resulting presentation of gender dysphoria, which is inconsistent with existing research literature. In other words, you're a teenager and a bunch of your fellow teens say, you know what, I'm not really a girl, I'm not really a boy, or I don't identify with either, and then that affects the way you see yourself. So now Brown has censored its own study because the LGBTQ totalitarians have decided that this is not a study that anybody could be allowed to read. Brown University has come under fire after censoring its own study on transgender youth. Came from the Daily Wire and published by Fox News. Of course, you're not going to find this in the mainstream media because they don't tell you the truth. They tell you what they want you to hear, which found that social media and friends can influence teenagers to change their gender identity. I tell you, my pity on these kids is total. I can't tell you how sad I feel for these kids. It is one of the glories of life to be at peace, even though you have tension. Everyone has tension. In adolescence, you have tension with everything. Everything. Post-puberty is a very difficult time of life. You've lost your innocence, but you don't know exactly what's right. You don't know exactly who you are, to say the least. Drop exactly. In most cases, not all. And now, for the first time in recorded history, a lot of kids are wondering if they're even the sex that they were born. Remember, the left, this is critical, you must understand this. The left sows chaos. They hate order. They love chaos, and it is one of the reasons that they loathe the Bible and the Judeo-Christian tradition, because there is order there. God created male and female. They don't think so. See you all tomorrow. Thank you for listening. I'm Dennis Prager.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio.